Pain plus reflection equals progress. Ray Dalio. Ray Dalio doesn't mince words. In a recent conversation, the billionaire founder of Bridgewater Associates, the world's largest hedge fund managing over $150 billion, offered a sobering outlook for the West. Both the United Kingdom and the United States, he warns, are entering a dangerous phase of their historical life cycle. But beneath that doom-sounding headline lies something deeper, a map for how investors and individuals can survive and even thrive in the chaos. The man who reads history to predict the future. Ray Dalio built his empire by decoding economic history. After all, markets, nations, and even empires follow repeating cycles, roughly 80 years long. According to him, we're approaching the end of one of those super cycles right now. He calls it the big cycle, a recurring sequence driven by 5 forces: money and debt, excessive credit creation followed by painful deleveraging, internal conflict, wealth and values gaps that erode trust in institutions, geopolitical conflict, rising and declining powers clashing for dominance, acts of nature, droughts, pandemics, and shocks that test societies, and human inventiveness, technological leaps that reset the balance of power. Whoever wins the technology war, Dalio insists, wins all wars, economic, political, and military. Why is the UK in trouble? When asked whether he's optimistic about Britain, Dalio's answer is blunt: no. The UK is grappling with a massive debt burden, fiscal deficits, and an exodus of talent and wealth. It's a country whose post-war decline has been gradual but relentless. Its capital markets have weakened, its entrepreneurial culture lags the US, and its political divisions are widening. The result? A nation stuck between nostalgia and austerity. For investors, Dalio's message is clear. Capital and people flow to where they're treated best. People go to the places that are better for them rather than stay in the places that are worse for them. If the UK wants revival, he says, it needs a strong analytical middle, a commitment to productivity, and a political culture that rewards innovation rather than punishes success. America's strengths and its risks. Dalio isn't any more cheerful about the U.S. Yes, it remains the epicenter of innovation, home to Silicon Valley, AI giants, and deep capital markets, but beneath that surface glimmer lie 4 dangerous realities. Historic debt levels. America's debt to GDP has ballooned, eroding long-term financial stability. Internal polarization. The U.S. is experiencing its most severe ideological divide since the 1930s. Great power rivalry. The U.S.-China contest is reshaping trade, defense, and technology. And fragile democracy. Declining trust in institutions could threaten the rule-based system itself. Dalio points out that 1% of Americans capture most of the innovation and wealth, while the bottom 60% struggle with basic literacy and stagnant wages. That imbalance, he says, is how empires decay, from within. The Investor's Survival Guide, Be the Smart Rabbit. There's an old Chinese proverb Dalio loves. A smart rabbit has 3 holes. Translation, always have options. In practical terms, that means geographic diversification, be willing to relocate or invest in more stable regions, financial flexibility, save aggressively and manage leverage, knowledge diversification, understand global risks and adapt early. For Dalio, mobility is freedom. The ability to move capital or yourself to safer ground is the ultimate hedge against political and economic decay. Should you buy a home in an uncertain world? Dalio's cake is contrarian. Flexibility over ownership. Owning property can anchor you to one geography, one tax regime, one declining system. In a volatile world, he argues, the ability to move physically and financially is priceless. So while conventional wisdom says buy as soon as you can, Dalio suggests keeping your capital liquid until you truly understand where the next opportunities will emerge. Work, passion, and the true currency of life. Dalio has a guiding principle for career success. Make your work and your passion the same thing. And don't forget the money part. He insists that meaningful work and meaningful relationships drive long-term happiness far more than wealth. After a basic standard of living, studies show money barely correlates with joy. What matters most is community, a sense of belonging, purpose, and shared growth. The life cycle of wealth. Dalio divides life into arcs, just like economies. Early stage learning and experimentation, maximize learning, take risks, and find mentors. Middle stage, execution and leverage, build, systemize, and surround yourself with capable people. Late stage transition and legacy, pass along wisdom, mentor others, and enjoy freedom. In his own early years, Dalio hated school, but loved the game of markets. At 12, he bought his first stock simply because it was cheap and tripled his money by luck. That thrill became his lifelong obsession. From mowing lawns to building Bridgewater Associates, the journey taught him that failure, reflection, and iteration are the real teachers. Pain plus reflection equals progress. The 1982 lesson that changed everything. In 1982, Dalio bet on a global debt crisis. Mexico defaulted. He was right on the facts, but wrong on the markets. The U.S. stock market bottomed exactly then and launched a 20-year bull run. Dalio lost so much that he had to borrow $4,000 from his father to pay bills. That humiliation birthed two timeless investing rules: radical open-mindedness, surround yourself with smart people who challenge your ideas, and diversification, reduce risk without killing returns. Those lessons transformed Bridgewater into the world's most successful hedge fund. From principles to algorithms, Dalio's early AI mindset. Decades before ChatGPT, Dalio was already programming his decision-making. He turned his investing rules into algorithms, computerized principles that could backtest his thinking. He says it was AI before LLMs. Each rule, how to act when inflation spikes, how to hedge during recessions, became part of an evolving digital brain that mirrored his own reasoning. Today's rise of generative AI excites him for the same reason. It's the ultimate leverage for knowledge and productivity. Used wisely, AI can help investors systemize thinking and eliminate bias. But Dalio warns, it will also widen inequality. The few who master and control intelligent machines will accelerate far ahead of the rest. AI and robotics, humanity's next turning point. When asked about AI and robotics, Dalio doesn't flinch. He sees it as the next industrial revolution, but faster, deeper, and more unequal. Just as machines replaced physical labor in the past, AI is now replacing mental labor. Lawyers, accountants, even doctors. Many white-collar roles could vanish. Societies will face an uncomfortable question. What happens when humans are no longer economically necessary? Dalio argues that a healthy society requires broad-based productivity. Redistributing money without meaning or purpose leads to social decay. If nations can't adapt, polarization will explode. History repeats the rise and fall of empires. Dalio has spent decades studying 500 years of empire cycles, from the Dutch to the British to the American. The pattern is strikingly consistent. Strong education, then innovation, then trade, then wealth. Debt rises, inequality widens, and trust erodes. Internal and external conflict, then decline and reset. We're now about 80 years past World War II, the beginning of the current U.S.-led world order. The signs of late-stage empire, high debt, polarization, and global rivalry are flashing red again. Dalio doesn't predict imminent collapse, but he warns the U.S. will likely lose its sole superpower status within the next 50 to 100 years. Meditation, pain, and the search for serenity. For someone known for numbers and logic, Dalio spends surprising time talking about meditation. It's his tool for reflection, balance, and clarity under pressure. He says meditation brings your conscious and subconscious minds into alignment. Transcendental meditation, he says, helped him navigate life's deepest pain, including the death of his son. By quieting the mind, he learned to turn tragedy into insight rather than despair. The serenity prayer, he says, still guides him. Grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot control, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference.
Radical truth and radical transparency. At Bridgewater, Dalio created what he calls an idea meritocracy. Anyone, intern or executive, could challenge him if their argument was strong. 3 strikes for gossiping behind someone's back, and you were out. Every meeting was recorded, every idea debated openly. It wasn't comfortable, but it worked. Meaningful work and meaningful relationships through radical truthfulness, that's the formula. The culture produced a rare environment where honesty trumped hierarchy and ideas mattered more than titles. Leadership lessons for entrepreneurs. For founders and business leaders, Dalio's playbook is simple but brutal. Hire for character plus capability. Skills can be taught. Integrity can't. Systemize everything. Turn success into repeatable processes. Leverage through others. Great teams multiply your impact. Preserve culture as you scale. Beyond 100 people, cohesion erodes unless deliberately rebuilt. Keep reflection continuous. Every mistake should spawn a new principle. He famously tells his managers, the goal isn't to work harder, it's to get more out of each minute. Human nature, the final variable. Ultimately, Dalio believes human nature, not technology, will determine our fate. Our intelligence has advanced faster than our wisdom. Without spiritual and moral evolution, AI and wealth will amplify greed and division. Almost all species go extinct because their strengths become their weaknesses. That's the paradox of progress, and perhaps the central theme of Dalio's philosophy. Our challenge isn't inventing smarter machines, but becoming wiser humans. 3 takeaways for PyUncut investors. Think in cycles, not headlines. Markets and nations rise and fall. Learn the patterns and position early. Invest in adaptability. Liquidity, diversification, and flexibility matter more than fixed assets. Marry reflection with action. Build systems for feedback. Every loss is tuition for future wisdom. The books Dalio recommends. Lessons of History by Will and Ariel Durant. Condensed wisdom from 5,000 years of civilization. The River Out of Eden by Richard Dawkins. Understanding evolution as the engine of all progress. The Hero with 1,000 Faces by Joseph Campbell. Life's universal journey of struggle, growth, and transcendence. These aren't investment manuals, they're manuals for reality itself. As the conversation ended, Dalio's tone softened. He's just trying to pass things along. That's his joy now. He's lived through cycles of boom and bust, pain and reflection, and emerged with a single truth. We can't control the storm, but we can control our sails. For investors, entrepreneurs, and dreamers navigating today's uncertain world, that might be the most valuable principle of all.